Welcome to the Jarad Golgari Lich EDH deck tech. Jarad is a phenomenal commander. He does a whole lot of work. He can get really big if you get a bunch of creatures in your graveyard, and he can blow up each opponent all at once. The main purpose of this deck is to dredge and make him big, and then attach some Voltron-style artifacts to him, maybe, and just swing away. I like Jarad a lot. I threw in the foil from the dual decks because I like to bling out my decks. So start with basic lands. I mean, we had 12 of each, 12 forest, 12 swamps. Just kind of knock those out of the way. Got a couple foil lands in there. Okay, so non-basics. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So non-basics, we've got Sphagothos, the Restless Tomb. I mean, with a dredge deck, this guy gets really big, and that's why he's in there. Rogue's Passage. So good to make your commander unblockable. I love commander damage, and if Jarad's big enough, Rogue's Passage can do a whole lot of work really quickly. I like Grim Backwoods because, sometimes you're just going to lose your creature, and this allows for you to get a little something extra out of it, like card draw. And if somebody's going to steal your creature, it's nice to respond with the sack. Encroaching Wastes, destroy somebody's non-basic. Mystifying Maze, yes. I like Mystifying Maze just being on the battlefield, just threatening people to, just taunting them, come on, attack me, see what happens. Or, if I just want to make a friend, if somebody's about to get put out of the game, I can just exile the attacking creature and make a buddy. It's a political game, after all. Thespian Stage, I like to copy other players' really awesome legendary lands, or maybe just target Golgari Rot Farm with it, and with that combo you get quite a bit of mana with just 2 land. It works. We're in the dual lands now. Golgari Rot Farm, of course, the bounce land. You got the Buddy land. You want to have as many dual lands as possible. Gilt-Leaf Palace is a reason for this. I mean, I don't have a lot of elves in my deck. I have a few, but not enough to make it trigger all the time. So, mostly just comes into play tap, but I don't mind because it's a slower format. Golgari Guildgate, playable. Overgrown Tomb, of course. I mean, you got to have your shock land. And Barren Moor, coupled with Tranquil Thicket, I like because I play Life from Loam, and I will cycle these lands repeatedly, get plenty of card draw out of it, and with Life from Loam, the cycle lands have a whole lot more value because you're getting more than just one card draw. It's a pretty good draw engine for you. Vraska the Unseen. I mean, what can you say about this Planeswalker? She's incredible. Her +1 protects her. Her -3 destroys things, and her ultimate wins you the game. I mean, she's just a good Planeswalker in this format. She just does work. Same thing with Guruk Primal Hunter. +1 protects him, you get more creatures on the battlefield, blockers. His -3 draws you a ton of cards, especially with this deck. You have some really big guys in this deck, and that's a whole lot of card draw. And then his ultimate wins you the game. Bunch of 6/6 worms. I'm pretty sure that'll finish anybody off. Exquisite Blood. It is coupled with Sanguine Bond. This combo will win you the game immediately. All you need is to do 1 point of damage and have both of these onto the battlefield at once, and you win the game. Everybody loses all the life, you gain all of it, and it's over. Deadbridge Chant is such a great card. It is the primary focus of this deck. It's one of the biggest tools to get your dredge going. You get card advantage every upkeep. It's good. I mean, you have a lot of reanimates creatures in your graveyard, so the chances of you getting the trigger for a creature directly to the battlefield is very likely. I love this card. It's a mythic for a reason. Add it to your dredge deck. Perilous Forays is a very awesome card. It's a great enchantment. It's not very common to be seen anywhere else, but in EDH, it is a staple if you couple it with Bloodghast, because you can tutor for all of your basic lands. You sacrifice a creature, go get a land, put it into play, and that triggers Bloodghast landfall trigger. He comes back into play, sacrifice him again, get another land. I mean, it does work. As long as you have the mana available, you can keep tutoring. Rites of Flourishing. Land acceleration plus card draw equals playable. Into the Wilds, it's more mana acceleration. At the beginning of your upkeep, you get to get that trigger for a reveal. Hell, man, you can get quite a bit of acceleration going for yourself every turn, an extra land, and if you play it with Strionic Resonator, you can double this trigger, and that's really nice. Death's Presence. This enchantment is a very valuable piece of the combo whenever you're sacrificing your creatures. Makes your other guys bigger, and whenever you're doing it with Jarad, it makes each consecutive sacrifice all the more powerful. Dark Prophecy is a new addition. She's very valuable, though. I like what she's done so far. It's a good enchantment. You lose a life, draw a card. I'll do it all day. Phyrexian Arena, lose a life, draw a card. I'll do it again. There's the Strionic Resonator I was mentioning. This is such a fun card. It's a new addition with M14. Copy triggered ability you control. And, maybe I'll copy my Dead Bridge trigger. Maybe I'll copy just a card draw trigger. But it is so good, and I really feel like this is going to become a staple in most EDH decks. Gilded Lotus already is a staple. What some people would consider a staple, you just get a bunch of extra mana fixing. It's good. Swiftfoot Boots is nice because it adds to the Voltron aspect of Jarad, make him a little bit more hard to kill. And that's what it's all about. Swiftfoot Boots does work. Staff of Nin, card draw. Loxodon Warhammer, love it. Sometimes you just want to trample over that damage with Jarad, or maybe get a little bit of extra life. This is a nice Voltron-style artifact. Sword of Body and Mind. It's a sword. It does work. It's not the best sword, not by far, but it's the only sword I've got, and, it gives you protection, and that's what you need sometimes, just to get your damage in. It's a good card. It's definitely a mythic for a reason. Whisper Silk Cloak, give him Shroud, give him Unblockability, get his damage in. That's what it's all about. Diabolic Tutor, we're into the tutors now, so, Diabolic Tutor, just a basic tutor. It's not that great, but in this format, 4 mana is nothing, and it'll get you what you need for the win con. Jarad's Orders. Now, this is a fun tutor spell for a dredge deck because you can just throw a really awesome creature into the graveyard like Brawn, or maybe a Reanimate target, and put something else, Beast Mode, in your hand. For 4 mana, that's really playable. Increasing Ambition. I like to tutor, and I'll tutor twice. Why not? Runescar Demon, tutor on a stick. A 6/6 flyer? Oh, he's so good. It's one of the first cards I ever got. And in Magic, a buddy of mine gave it to me, and it's just done so much work for me since then. I love this card, and it will always be in my Golgari decks. Butcher of Malakir. Whenever I'm sacking creatures, or just if a creature that I have dies, everybody else has to make theirs die. It's just so good. I love this card. He does so much work. Stinkweed. Get your dredge on, bro. Plus, you get a little Death Touch coupled with it. Essentially Death Touch. Lotleth Troll. If you have awesome creatures in your hand, dump them into the graveyard and reanimate them for a whole lot cheaper. Not to mention he has Regenerate, which is in EDH is so good because everybody's board wiping so frequently. And he's got Trample, so he gets his damage in. Voltura's Zombie. I don't do any hand disruption. I don't make people discard cards. But just opponents simply playing their own spells makes this guy big, and then I can blow him up with Jarad. Reaper from the Abyss. I've caught a lot of slack about adding this to my EDH deck from the guys at my local card shop. They don't think his Morbid triggers when it should, or they just can't get it to work right for him, but with Jarad, oh man, I can make it happen on each turn, forcing the Morbid to pop, and I love that, and that's another Strionic Resonator target, whenever it triggers, I can just make people die. Make creatures die. Terastodon. Foiled Terastodon. Love this guy. He's so fun. He's a 9/9 beater. He's really big. He just eliminates everybody's awesome artifacts or lands or enchantments. They can have all the 3/3 green elephant tokens that they want. I don't care. I'm not concerned with that. I will blow them up, blow this guy up with Jarad and make them all eat 9 to the face. Shambling Shell, he's a dredge outlet, or he's a sacrifice outlet if Butcher of Malakir is on the battlefield. He's good. He's not the best, but he does what he needs to do, and he's got utility, which is why I keep him in. Vorapede, swing with him, blow him up with Jarad. Comes back, swing with him again, blow him up with Jarad. Sepulchral Primordial. I love stealing creatures from other people, and this guy does that, so he definitely has a spot in my my deck. I love taking everybody else's awesome bombs, and he allows me to do that. So, I mean, what more can you ask for? Straightforward. Not the most valuable. He's just a 1/1 for 2, but I mean you do get to put creatures back on top of your library, so it allows you to recover things, and of course he's got the dredge outlet, which is what I use him primarily for. Let's see, Sheoldred, the Whispering One. Now she is my primary reanimate target. She is foiled. She is a goddess. I love her. She gets her damage in with Swamp Walk, and if the opponents don't answer her right away, they lose the game. They will lose all of their creatures, and I will get all of mine back. She is answerable. She's kill on sight. You have to handle her or you lose, and that's why she's in there. I love that card. Necropolis Regent. I will tutor for this card. She does so much work. She's also foiled out. If she's on the battlefield and I swing with a creature, that creature gets huge. I can blow it up with Jarad, or I can just swing with her and blow her up later. I mean, she wins games, and that's why she's in here. Sylvan Primordial is my favorite Primordial. He's mana acceleration, he's removal, he's good. He's good. He destroys all kinds of things that you hate to see on the board, like opponent's swords or enchantments, and I love him. He's my favorite Primordial. He's so good. Ah, yes. Harvester of Souls. 5/5 Death Touch, not bad, but whenever a non-token creature dies, I get to draw a card? Well, don't mind if I do. Oracle of Maldaya is a staple in green. I mean, mana acceleration, so good. You can play it from the top of your library so you know what's coming up next. I like to always, if possible, play my lands from my library, keep more fuel in my hand for when she's gone. Molgroth, yes, 8/8 Trampler. It gives me Reanimate. I will blow this guy up almost immediately. Savra, whenever I sack a creature, my opponent's got a sack. I like it. Bloodghast is the other part of the Perilous Forays combo with the landfall trigger. He's so good. Seedborn Muse. This card has won me so many games. The ability to untap your permanents during every upkeep is impossible to understate how powerful that truly is. She wins me games constantly. If I have enough mana on the board, I can dump everything in my main phase, untap during my opponent's untap step. I can blow up all kinds of creatures each turn. I mean, she's so good. So good. And she gives me my blockers back. Grave Titan is a black staple. You get plenty of creatures for him, plenty of value. He's value train. Everybody knows Grave Titan. Gotta have one. Gotta make room for him. Golgari Grave Troll is one of the best dredge outlets in this deck. He's either a huge creature late game, or you can start dredging with him right away. I love him. Always find room for him. Now, Bloodgift Demon. Pay a life, draw a card. Yes. Attach it to a nice body. Oh, wow. This demon does work. Brawn, of course. You want him in the graveyard. You can put him there with Jarad. Gives everybody trample. It's just a beautiful thing to get your damage through. Wormcoil Engine. Oof. Lifelink. Death Touch. Oh, you get your tokens. He's so good. He's one of those triggers that you want to copy with Strionic Resonator. Get you 2 of each, both a lifelink and a death touch token. I mean, that's nice. Definitely one of those Strionic Resonator triggers you want to copy. If you accidentally mill something that you don't want to, well, guess what? Eternal Witness brings it back into your hand, right where you want it to be. I've got my Reanimate spells now. Of course, the original Gangster, Reanimate. Pay 1, lose some life, get your creature back. Death. I don't use life very much, but Death I do use. He's just 1 colorless more, and he does the same thing as Reanimate. He does work. Stitch Together. Now this card is probably my most efficient Reanimate spell. He's so cheap, he's 2 black mana, and as long as I have 7 cards in my graveyard, which is very likely with Dredge, I can return a creature directly to the battlefield. That is very efficient, good use of mana. Zombify, he's a little bit more expensive, but it does what I need it to do. I mean, 4 is better than 7 or 8, which is some of my creatures' converted mana costs. So he's got room. Zombify for sure. Vigor Mortis, it's got a small upside in that you can get a 1/1 counter for 4. Not bad. Dread Return has got a small upside in that, yeah, it's 4 mana, but you can play it twice, which is nice. And all you have to do is sacrifice creatures, and I like having creatures in my graveyard. Diabolic Servitude, this is a 4 mana reanimate spell enchantment, but it can be used over and over again if your opponent is foolish enough to destroy the creature and not this enchantment, because if he destroys the creature, the enchantment goes back to your hand, allowing you to play it multiple times on multiple targets. Rise from the Grave, it's a little bit expensive, but sometimes you have something that I'd want, and I'm willing to pay a little bit of extra mana to get it. Twilight's Call. You can catch some slack for playing this card in your EDH deck, but if you're playing Dredge, that means that you should have the creature advantage in your graveyard as opposed to everyone else's, and it's playable in that you only play it when you have the advantage, and for most cases for me, I usually have a ton more creatures in my graveyard than any of my opponents, and for 6 mana, I will be willing to allow them to have theirs back, because this is my win con. You know, you put it out, flash everybody back, and then you start blowing them up with Jarad. Rise from the Dark Realms, it's clearly a better choice than Twilight's Call, in that you can field wipe and then return everything to the battlefield under your control. It's Lily's ultimate. It's so good. It's mythic for a reason. It's so powerful. It's a win con. I love this card being in there. I've won with it twice already since M14's come out 2 weeks ago. It is so good. Life from Loam's, utility sorcery, wonderful, wonderful utility. All aboard to Utility Town. It's got a dredge ability. You can replay your lands that you may have accidentally dredged, or maybe you've sacrificed a land to utilize for some reason, maybe an encroaching waste or something along those lines, or cycle. Maybe you've used your cycle lands, and this is just your draw engine. It's a wonderful card. It's rare for a reason. I love this, love this, love this. Life from Loam. Add 1 to your deck. Treasured Find. Whoops, I milled something I didn't mean to. Let me get it back. Now we're getting into the removal. Not much removal because a lot of my creatures have removal triggers. So just have an exile ability. Maybe I'll tutor for this. If somebody has an Avacyn on the field, I can just exile 2 creatures and I'll take 5 damage, which I think is a fair trade. Putrefy. Destroy a creature or artifact. It can't be regenerated. To me, this is Value City. And last but not least, Life's Finale. Destroy all creatures. Put 3 creatures from a target opponent's graveyard into their graveyard. And hell, maybe next turn I'll play Rise from the Dark Realms and get all those creatures onto my battlefield. It's good to have a nice mass removal. But that's it for Jarad. Tell me what you think in the comments section, and I'll appreciate the feedback.